I'm going to be doing my presentation on bullfighting. Here's some of the history of bullfighting in Spain. They could trace it back to 711 AD. It was the first official bullfight that was held in Spain was in honor of coronation of King Alfonso VII, and that's when coronation is when he was being crowned. At first, it was on horseback, and it was only done by Spanish aristocrats. But then King Philip V thought that this was a poor taste of nobles to practice such a bloody sport, so he kind of frowned upon them doing it, and then a lot of commoners started picking it up and developing it on foot. And around 1724, dodging and stabbing the bulls grew into what we know of it as today. The oldest bull ring in Spain is located in the south town of Rona. Some general important vocabulary to know is first, the matador is the bullfighter who wears bright colored costume. The quadrilla is the matador's assistant, it's kind of its team that can aid during the bullfight. Banderilla is a decorated dart that is thrusted into the bull's neck or shoulders during the match. And then the banderilleros are men who try to stick the banderillas into the bull's shoulder. The picador is men who ride on a horse and they try and stab the bull with lances during the match. And then the pasillo is a parade that's before the match. So just some basics on how bullfighting works in general. The matador faces the bull in a dart-filled arena surrounded by spectators. The quadrilla aid in helping the matador taunt the bull to charge at him. Pictoros ride around on horse to jab the bull to weaken them and to lower their heads. Usually the whole bullfight will have 3 matadors and each will get a chance to fight 2 bulls. If the bullfighters get injured, they're usually replaced with a backup or a senior bullfighter. And the bull is killed at the end of each match, whether it's by the matador or if the matador fails, then it is brought back to the pen and slaughtered. Corrida de toros, that is the Spanish word for bullfighting. And these are some just specifics about Spanish bullfighting. The arena is called the Plaza de Toros. The matadors perform in order of seniority, so the eldest will go, and then following the second eldest, third eldest, so on. When the matador is injured, there's usually 3 actually, so it's just the eldest, second eldest, third eldest. And then when the matador is injured, he is replaced by his senior matador. So if he is injured, the senior will go for him. And corrida de pie is a bullfight on foot, and then corrida de rejoins is when the bullfight is done on horseback. The specific structure for a Spanish bullfight, it starts with the pasillo, which is the parade of all the participants, kind of to introduce the participants. And then the fights then begin after pasillo and starting with the Senor Matador first. The bullfight is divided into 3 tercios, and those are 3 stages. The matador asks for the switch of the tercios, but they usually last around 20 minutes. But yeah, the matador kind of chooses when it's time to switch. So in order, the first tercio is called the tercio de veras, and this is when the bull first enters the arena. During this stage, the banderillos will use capes to cause the bull to charge, and it's kind of to test his reactions and the conditions, and for the matador to see how the bull is reacting and what his what part of the arena he's going to and stuff like that. And then the 2 picadores will enter the arena on horseback, and the bull will charge the horses, and the picador will stab the bull with a lance in the shoulder and attempt to weaken it. And this is in hopes of the bull will lower his head and its horns during the rest of the match, which will be less dangerous for the matador. And then once they switch into the next stage, it's called the Tercio de Banderillas, And this is where the picadors will leave the ring, and the banderillos will be there, but instead this with of a cape, they will have banderillas, and they will try to place these banderillas into the bull's shoulders, again to further try and weaken him and further lower his head and his shoulders. Then the last stage is the Terro de Muerte, and this is like the most exciting stage, people say. It's where the matador is in the arena alone with the bulls, and or sorry, with the bull, and he carries a small red cape in one hand and the sword in another, and he has 10 minutes to try and kill the bull. But if he doesn't kill it within those 10 minutes, then he gets 3 more minutes, kind of just three last more minutes to try and do it. And if he doesn't, then the bull returns to the pen, and this is like considered a huge failure for the matador. Here, I have some photos of each stage, and you can see in the first stage the horses, the second one how they just have the banderillas, and then the third stage is just the matador and the bulls. I want to highlight a couple of matadors that I found interesting. The first one is Cristina Sanchez. Cristina Sanchez was one of the first like female recognized bullfighters in Spain. She also was very popular in other countries too. Her bullfighting debut was in Madrid, and it was weeks before her 21st birthday. She became one of the first prominent female bullfighters in like the whole sport. And she retired only after 3 years, though, because she was not getting the recognition from males at all. They were refusing to split billing with her, and they were at all of her little shortcomings. They were alluding to her being a female, so she ended up retiring, which was a shame. The next one is Juan Belamonte Garcia, known as like Belamonte, and he was born in 1992 and began his career as a child in 1908. And his technique was like no other. He was the first matador to kind of get really close to the bull. They used to try and really stay back to prevent injury, but he was the first one to get really close. This resulted in a lot of more matadors getting gored by bulls, but it was a very more exciting technique. And then his rival was Jose Gomez Ortega, known as Joselito, and he was actually known as one of the greatest bullfighters of all time. And unfortunately, he was fatally gored on May 16th, 1920, at age 25 by a bull. Next, I'm going to talk about funding. Funding for bullfighting, there was a claim that 10 million euros a year was coming from the European Union it was for bullfighting. I mean, it was going to agricultural subsidies, but it seems that a lot of that was going to bullfighting. So the claim was diminished because there's no direct like link. And the EU wasn't specifically giving these agricultural subsidies to breed bulls, but that doesn't mean that a lot of the money wasn't falling into the industry. So, like, what was happening was they were just giving the money to farmers to produce food, and the farmers get money based on the amount of land they have, not based on what they're actually producing or anything like that. And a lot of them end up selling the bulls to for bullfighting. And then I'm gonna get into controversies. So controversies, this is one of the most controversial spectacles in the world. It attracts many visitors and scholars and curious folks from all over the world, but bullfighting and it's considered an artistic and national treasure by many experts. But there are many Spanish anti-bullfighting people and groups that think it's unjust all over the country that hold demonstrations and stuff. Although many still see bullfighting as real cultural expression of art and beauty, and like they even see it as like a test of your strength. It seems that a lot of the younger generations are starting to sway opposed to that. So here's a video of Jackie Cardarini, and she's a U.S. citizen, and this is her take on bullfighting. This is kind of probably a very general take of a U.S. citizen. And then here's a video of a report on bullfighting, and it includes a lot of firsthand opinions from different citizens actually, and in there they talk about the ban in Catalonia for bullfighting. And so this was a ban that was put into place in Catalonia saying no bullfighting. And then 6 years after that, I think even like maybe they don't even mention in this video, but 6 years after that, the ban was actually overturned by the Constitutional Court of Spain. And they claimed that Catalonian lawmakers could not prohibit the practice. And that was, I mean, and they said like the practice was like enriched in the culture of Spain, so they couldn't really like tell people that they couldn't do it, but they could regulate it. Despite this overturn, Barcelona's mayor pledged to keep her city free of bullfighting. She says, "Whatever the Constitutional Court says, we will work to ensure the ruling has no effect. We will do everything possible." So kind of in conclusion of all of this, bullfighting is a very prominent part of Spanish culture, whether it's being practiced or being protested. It is very prominent. In my own opinion, I don't see the point of bullfighting because I don't think it's worth it to kill the bulls like that, but after doing research, I can understand the cultural value that people see of it. And I mean, a lot of people are just kind of scared of losing certain aspects of their culture. So I do kind of understand why people practice it. Although I think with times changing and enough of those protests happening, I don't see it lasting very long. And these are my sources.